As you could probably tell from the intro, I'm gonna be talking about treadmills today. And I just so happen to have with me the top 5 reasons why you should be using a treadmill to train if you already aren't. So, I'm gonna start at number 5. You love walls and you love staring. You like being in the same place for an extended period of time. You like having a wall in front of you and you love staring at walls. Great reason to use a treadmill. Number 4, there is a zombie horde outside right now. You have to train, you've got some event coming up, and for some reason, you are surrounded by zombies, so you're forced to use a treadmill. Number 3, you lost a bet. You were gonna go run outside, you placed a bet with somebody, and then they forced you to run on a treadmill. Number 2, you're allergic to outside. You just can't be out there. So you think, I'm gonna stay indoors and I'm gonna use a treadmill. And finally, number 1, and this is the all-time number 1 reason why you would be using a treadmill. And that is, you have no other choice. All right, so obviously I'm being a tad bit sarcastic, but I would be lying if I said some of these, with the exception of the zombies, didn't cross my mind. This past week when I was running, found myself in a pretty unique situation. We were out of town and I was on a work trip, and because of where I was and my schedule, I had to run on a treadmill. And I can't think of a time when I have trained on a treadmill. I know I've run on them in the past, but I always try to do as much running as possible outdoors. I think if I was preparing for a road race, then I wanted to be out in that environment as much as possible, with temperature changes, with stepping on rocks, with having to navigate turns, with just all of the random things that may come up with being outside. Now, I won't lie and say that there's no value at all in training on a treadmill. I did something else that I've never done before, and that was train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And that's not something that I really wanted to do, but again, because of my schedule, I felt like I was kind of forced to go that route. I wanted to get my 3 running days in. And so I got up extra early, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and got on the treadmill and logged I was about to say miles, but I think it's more appropriate for me to say log the minutes. So day 1 was 28 minutes. Day 2 was another 28 minutes. And then day 3, and sometimes I love the app's sense of humor, and it said, congratulations, you've worked up to running 30 minutes, you can run a 5K. And that is not my 5K. I'm just gonna run 30 minutes. If I could miraculously do a 5K in that time, then that's fantastic. But my goal right now was just log the minutes, and I'm not really concerned with the miles. And plus, I don't know how these treadmills are calibrated, if they're calibrated. I don't know when they bought them. I have no idea how accurate they are. And I really wish that I could have done this week outdoors, because I felt like I would have had a better view of the distance that I was capable of running in 28 minutes and 30 minutes. I still know that it's not a 5K, but I feel like the Garmin would have given me a better picture to take a look at there, but didn't have a choice. Like I said, number 1, you have no other choice. I was pretty happy with how everything went. Day 2, and I think I talked about some of this last week, like how obstacles have come up, and I don't want to get on here and complain. Day 2, I found that the belt on the treadmill was slipping a little bit, and it's not a comfortable feeling when you can kind of feel that give way, and that's something new for me, because obviously I don't feel that on the road. I'm just out there and I can adjust. But once you've got that treadmill set at a specific speed, it's not like if you adjust that up or down, it's instantaneous. The treadmill still has to adjust based on the input that you're giving it. So thankfully the belt wasn't slipping or sticking too terrible. It definitely spiked my heart rate a little bit, but I was determined not to let that discourage me or stop me from training any way possible. And then on day 3, there was 2 treadmills in the hotel that I was at. So I hopped over to the next one thinking, okay, this will be good. I got in there and I went to start the run and I realized I had left my watch in my hotel room. So I went back and got my watch. I came back and then the belt started slipping. And I kept running into all of these problems. And again, in the past, I would have just been really upset, but this time I kind of thought it was funny. I was like, I am determined. I'm gonna log this 30 minutes. If the building is on fire and the fire alarm, they're gonna have to come drag me out because I'm that stubborn about finishing this week. The last day was really cool for me because I really try not to look at my watch, but when I've got the treadmill up and my watch, it's really hard not to pay attention to how much time I got left, but it felt like every time that I glanced at my watch, it was another minute gone. The time went by so fast, faster than I think that it has gone by on any other run so far. So I gotta say, I didn't hate running on a treadmill at all. I don't want any of the sarcasm at the beginning of this to make anybody feel like, well, I like running on a treadmill. This guy's just a jerk. Hey, if you like running on a treadmill and that makes you feel good, that's the only reason you need to keep doing that. If I ever found myself in another situation where all I had was a treadmill, definitely not gonna be upset about it. The other new thing this week was running back-to-back days. Normally I run Tuesday, Thursday, and either Saturday or Sunday, so I've got a little bit of a reprieve in there. In my head, I thought, yeah, I can log these minutes. It's not that big of a deal. It's definitely something I've done before, but I didn't know how my body would react to the back-to-back days. I was really surprised. I got back to the hotel room, hopped in the shower, and by the time I was at work, I felt like I hadn't even worked out, and I still logged a lot of miles walking during the day while I was on that work trip. So it wasn't like I was just, which I think helped me because I found that if I go run and then I sit down and I'm sedentary, my body just really draws up and it is not comfortable just sitting all day. So I think that it actually helped me by getting out early, running, getting in the shower, getting a good breakfast, and then moving all day long. By the time I got back to that hotel room though, I was dead. I still felt good enough to get up and run the next morning. And I'm kind of surprised. I'm really stubborn when it comes to sticking to a program. Like if you say, hey, here's a 40-week running program, I'm gonna try to be as perfect in terms of adhering to that program as possible. In the past, I don't know. I really don't know if I would have stuck to that. I probably would have found some excuse. Well, you know, I'm out of town, this is work, and what's one day if I skip it? I really want to get to the end of this program and look back and say, I did everything possible I could to finish every single day as close to the program as possible. And so far I've been able to do that. So I think this week was a really big victory for me. Looked at the Garmin data, and I mean, it's obviously the pace should be relatively the same. I feel like I was shorted a little bit on the miles because I was running on a treadmill. But what I did on day one, because I had never run on this treadmill before and I really had no idea, like, what do I even put the speed on? I was just trying to feel that out. And then on day two, I was trying to increase that a little bit. And the same thing on day three. And I think I had to shift it down just a little bit so I could maintain everything. But I feel like if I look back at it, that each day I was increasing the speed just a little bit, which, you know, regardless of what those numbers were, just in my mind, knowing that I was able to increase that, that was a victory enough. I am looking forward to not being stuck in a tiny hotel room and trapped, for what I feel trapped, on a treadmill for 30 minutes. It really made me appreciate being able to go out to the park, toss on the running shoes and some headphones and just be outdoors to see, you know, a change in scenery. This hotel room, I know some places are great when they put a TV, multiple TVs, but all I had in front of me was a mirror. It's awkward enough to edit videos of yourself. It's a whole nother thing to basically have yourself to stare at while you're bouncing up and down on a treadmill for 30 minutes. The TV that this hotel had was, it was nowhere near where It was weird. It was like, we're gonna put all the treadmills here, and oh yeah, over there on that wall, over there in the corner, that'd be a great spot for a TV. You know, it made me appreciate being outside even more, so I can't complain. Cannot complain at all. This week went way better than I expected, and I've noticed that I continuously build on top of the week prior. I think this coming week, it looks like I've got some running and walking intervals that looks like it's gonna help work a little bit more recovery and increase the total time that I'm capable of running. Finally, I think I found a race that I'd like to do. Unfortunately, this one, there's not anything here in my area on the day that I would be scheduled to go do this 10K. So I found one that's about, I think it's like an hour or so from here. I really don't want to have to get up so early where I have to drive an hour to go run a 10K and then drive back. But this race is pretty cool. It's got a virtual option. So I'm thinking about signing up for that just so that I do better when I've got something that I'm signed up for and I know that I've got to submit something, or it just feels very final for me, and it gives me another target to hit. So I'm gonna probably sign up for that. I was actually thinking about, do I want to pursue a half marathon? And I've been talking to a friend. I'm kind of tinkering with actually transitioning from just running the whole thing to doing like a run walk. And I think that might be better for me in terms of recovery and everything else. But after this 10K is over, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But that's been something that's on my mind. Definitely still tracking, you know, a longer distance run because everything's been feeling great. So awesome week, no complaints. And hopefully if you are stuck on a treadmill, you are not surrounded by a zombie horde, because I can think of no other worse way to die than by zombies, but worse while you're on a treadmill. So until next week.